Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today I've got a very special project for everyone. This is Tamiya's new M1A2 Abrams main battle tank. This is a 16 scale display version, and what that means is this is originally designed to be their RC tank for their big line of RC tanks that they have out. But they decided to come out with the display version first, so all of the guts are ripped out of it. There's no motors or sound systems or anything like that, so you basically get just a really cool display version of the M1 Abrams. I recently just did a little preview video of it to show all the sprues inside, so it looks to be like a fabulous kit. I've been messing around with some of the parts for the last couple hours and really excited to get started on it. So let's get started on it. Okay, now we're ready to start the assembly on the lower hull, and as you can see, the entire lower hull is all metal. And I was just noticing as I was looking at some of the parts that make up the lower hull, like the wheels, these are all made with ABS. And I thought, oh, I was going to have a problem getting them glued together, but I noticed everything that is made with ABS actually screws together, so we don't have to worry about gluing any of these parts on. These are all going to get screwed into other metal parts and then screwed actually to the side of the hull. So the ABS is something that obviously is going to hold up a lot better than polystyrene over the years, especially if you're running it as an RC tank. Okay, as you can see here, I've poured out a couple of bags of the screws. And as you can also see, there is a lot of little screws and internal metal parts that make up the lower half of this kit. And there, like I said, there's multiple bags of Teflon bearings and screws, all kinds of stuff. What I'm going to do is kind of just show you the basics on a few of the way the assembly goes. Also, I should show you that every time you do a step, Tamiya puts a 1-to-1 scale drawing of each one of the screws that you're going to need. And that's very helpful, because some of them start to get really close in shape and size, and you don't want to put the wrong ones in the wrong area. So this is very helpful. No matter what area you're working on, they always break down exactly what part you're going to need for it. And it's also really fun to always be building some of these, because to see some of the ingenious ways that they've come up for making things work. These are the return rollers up on top here, and the way they've done it is they've taken these extra long screws with the smooth area, pop this in here. It's self-threading. You thread this in right here, and once you get it screwed in, you've got a working wheel that's going to hold up over time as well. And all of the road wheel pieces on this kit are all made out of ABS, and the ABS plastic doesn't take regular Tamiya glue, so we'll have to use super glue on it, but it does hold up really well, that if you are going to do the RC version or run this at all, that the ABS is just much stronger and going to hold up over long periods of time. Now once you get to the lower hull, we'll start attaching. I started attaching a few of the screws inside here now, but just quickly, just rather than show you each one of these pieces, these kind of pieces will just plug right in here, and then hit the other screw from the other side, and you'll have this mounted into place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start attaching a few of these pieces, that the return rollers, and getting the front of the hull screwed together here, and we'll come back and show you the next step. Now we're going to start work on the drive sprockets, and what that is basically entails for this portion of it is just cutting these pieces off the sprue, lining them up, and then just getting them to line up in this position. We're not going to use any glue and all in this, because once you get them into this position, we're actually going to attach them. It comes with a locking nut that will bolt this hull on, so it'll keep it nice and secure. So there's no need for any glue on that. Now when it comes to the next portion of the actual drive shaft for it, there's a little bit of assembly that has to be done, and with these C-clips, which sometimes can be a little bit of pain to put on, but there we go, but they hold really well. So it's just a matter of putting in your Teflon bearings, sliding that in, bolting that on. This is the one that gets a little hard, just trying to get a grip on the C-clip, but needle nose pliers work usually pretty good. And then that just goes right on there. Then the last little step you need to take care of on this is applying this little pin that goes in here, and this needs to be super glued into place. and we'll put a little touch of super glue on side of that, and you want to get it lined up. And the reason this little pin is here, this is going to line up with the corresponding side of this, so that grabs that and it spins real freely, I should say. And so now that once we put this together, we'll be able to bolt it onto the side of the hull. Now I'm going to show you how we start to assemble all the different parts that make up the torsion bar and the suspension in general. And to start off with, there are multiple parts that look similar inside but are actually very, very different in size. So you have to really be careful when you're assembling them that each one of these individual ones are different, and how you put the pins inside of it as well as the side. And then finally it comes to the plate that goes on the outside are also different sizes. So I found it was easy enough because I did one side of the vehicle already, showing you right here, putting all those on. And I found it's much easier just to build one at a time and attach them that way. That way you don't have any confusion. You don't want to be putting one on and then having to take it all apart again. And they go together pretty simply enough. You've got your metal bearings that pop inside both sides of the piece right here, and those just push in by force. And then when it comes to, like, this particular one is going to be the very first one on the back of the vehicle, so you got to make sure when you slide this little pin in that you're putting it in the right direction. Now it does have the A stamped on it because there's also a C pin over here as well, but the A, you want to make sure it matches up, so in this particular one that little nub goes up in that position. And that's going to matter later when you go to put the torsion bar on the other side, because if you get it wrong, it's going to completely mess up the side of it. Okay, now that we have this assembly piece made up, you'll notice that a little bit of the bearing sticks out proud of the actual piece. So that'll lock kind of right into place here, so you can get it lined up. And from this side, just making sure all the thread holes line up, we can go ahead and put our outer plate on it. And then once you have the outer plate, there are 4 little bolts that will make up attaching each one of these. And I did the other side, and I started off doing them with the little Allen wrench that came with it. But because of the overhang from the sponson here, it makes it kind of difficult after a while. So what I ended up doing was taking the Allen wrench and just snapping the little L shape off on it and mounting it into our cordless drill, set at a very low setting. That way we don't strip any of these out. And you can just go right down the line, just knocking each one of these out, and it takes literally 1/10 the amount of time to put all these together. So I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the rest of that on, put all these bolts on, and we'll put all of these on, and we'll come back and show you the next step. Now I'm going to show you construction on the wheels. Now the rubber insert just pops right out of the inside here, and then the rubber will just slide right over the side of the road wheel. Now there's obviously 2 road wheels for each one of the road wheel setups. So there's quite a few little rubber pieces you're going to have to get together. Inside each one of those there's a little Teflon bearing that goes inside each one, as well as a metal shaft that's going to hook the whole thing together. And then the final piece to put it together is attaching 4 screws on the outside of it, and that bolts the whole thing together and makes a nice solid surface for it. And now we attach the metal suspension arm with one bolt on the outside of that, and that whole road wheel is now ready to go. Now that we have all of the side pieces put on, we can start attaching the idler wheels. And the idler wheels have a little bit of a tooth design into it, so you want to get it to line straight up and down. And once you get it into the right position, there is a little cap washer in here, followed by a little nut with a bigger Allen wrench that you need to put on there. And you just thread this into place. Simple enough. Lock that in there. Now we can start attaching the road wheels. Now the road wheels have, like I was telling you earlier, a torsion bar suspension inside, and you can see on the torsion bars there's a small end and a big end, and that's for getting in and out of the areas that we're trying to fit it through the hole there. So, and this is how easy the suspension goes together, making sure that the large side goes opposite of the road wheel you're going to put on. Slide the small side in, put the large side on its side, then it's just a matter of taking it, pushing your suspension arm in there. And the last little thing you need to do is, once you push it all the way through, is you get a little C-clip that will pop right on in here. A few of these, when I was test fitting, I was able to get them on by just using my finger, but most of them will probably require using a pair of pliers just to pop those into place. And then once you get that popped into place, you've got a working suspension arm. Well, here is the entire lower suspension, almost the entire lower suspension built, and you can see how the torsion bars work really, really well on it. Now it's coming to what I think is probably one of the coolest part of this kit, and that is these tracks. And this is exactly how the tracks come in the box. They are completely assembled as a complete loop. The entire track is actually a metal bar with a real rubber pad on top of it. So obviously they're designed for the RC version and really designed to hold up over a lot of wear and tear. But because of that, they're, like I said, they're just the coolest part of this entire kit. Now, when it comes time to setting up the track, it's pretty easy and straightforward. You're going to take our drive sprocket. It fits perfectly around that, and we can just start fitting the track around all of the other wheels first. Get these up on those return rollers. And then it's just a matter of fitting it over that last little piece in there. Spinning it around that hub. There it goes. Pops right into place on that. We're going to take our lock washer, pop that in there, tighten that down, and they do come with a plastic cap that has like all the regular nut and bolt detail that will be on the actual vehicle. And once again, the track and wheel combination is just incredible on this. So I am going to go ahead and bolt down the idler, or excuse me, the drive sprocket, and we'll come back and show you the next step. Now, I've just been playing around for a little while with the tracks and the wheels and things like that. Now, I put that little bolt in, but I didn't tighten it all the way down yet, and didn't put that cap on as well. And that's because we're going to take part of this apart in a little while to do the paint job on it. Because I think it'll just be much easier to remove the tracks, remove the rubber off the road wheels, prime the entire thing, and then we can go ahead and do our painting as well down there, but still be able to snap the rubber back on as well. One other thing I should point out to you too is when you're going to put in the little C-clips inside to hold the torsion bars in there, there are two C-clips that are very similar in size. One of them is larger, and the larger one is designed to go inside the suspension. So at one point I was trying to put one in that was a little bit smaller, didn't realize it right away because it looks very similar, and it was just not fitting on until I looked at it and noticed that, okay, this is the wrong one. So just keep that in mind when you're starting to go ahead and build yours. Now, the next couple steps require working on the upper hull. So I'll stop playing with this portion of it for a little while and start working on the upper hull now. Okay, I'm about to start gluing on some of the parts on the upper hull. And little minor thing, just when you go to do these, keep in mind most of them are polystyrene to polystyrene. There are a few pieces that I found that I didn't realize right away. The lights, for example, are made out of ABS, so we're going to have to use super glue to attach those. Keep our super glue handy. Now we're also leaving the glass out of the light because we want to paint this and then keep that all separate so we don't worry about masking that over. So little parts like that are going to, like I said, are going to be super glued on. The rest will be go on with regular Tamiya model cement, all the light guards and stuff. And then the driver's hatch up front here, we're going to leave that unglued in. We're just going to place that in there and leave the glass out of here as well too, because we're going to paint that to look like the colored glass that's normally in it. And also, since we have our super glue out and it's about time to start cutting off some of this photo etch parts, all these screens and some of these other pieces on here, everything except for the bustle rack, we won't use that right now until we start working on the turret. And all of that is going to get glued right onto the top of those just with a little bit of super glue. So I've got a lot of little parts to start gluing on here, so I'm going to start working on all of those, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. Thought I would quickly kind of just talk about the photo etch and the type of glue that I use to attach it. I usually get that question quite often. As soon as you get the photo etch off the sprue, it's always good to hit it and knock off the little burr that's going to be in there, because that can sometimes prevent it from lining up properly. A lot of times too, the photo etch is going to have a front and back based on how rough it is, and this has got the interwoven looking look to it on this side, so this is going to be the top piece. And as for super glue, or glue I should say, I use super glue, the cyanacrylates. I happen to be using Great Plains Pro CA Medium with these extra fine tips on it. This is really, really good for getting into real tight locations. And it's just a matter of just putting a little bit around each one of the edges, not so much that it's going to start to ooze through and then drop the piece into place. The biggest key about laying down photo etch like this is trying to keep it as straight as possible while you're filing off that little burr, because if you wrinkle it at all, you put one side down, the other side wants to pop up. So if you can keep it as flat as possible, it's going to lay down very, very smoothly for you. I've glued most of the parts on the back half of the hull. The only thing we've left out are some of the light inserts, which once again we're going to paint those separately, so we want to keep those off until we're ready to do the painting. Now it's a matter of attaching the lock nuts inside of that little piece. Now this is ABS again, so we're using super glue to set this in. And this is all behind the vehicle inside, so we won't really see any of that at all. And then it's just a matter of putting a screw in here. And that is locked that plate into place. Now we can go ahead and glue this portion in. And finally, we've just set the 4 mounting screws into place. And then the back part of the hull will just clamp right into there. Just tighten those screws on, and this is all attached. Now I just had a customer in here that I was talking to, and I should probably point out something to you. I thought most people knew, but maybe some of you don't. When I was mentioning earlier that some of the parts are polystyrene and some of them are ABS plastic, the way you can tell by that is on this sprue, right in back of wherever the letter is on it, they've imprinted PS, which is polystyrene, or for the other pieces, let's see if this is this one is an ABS one. So that is the quickest way, obviously, to tell. I mean, there is a feel difference to it. The ABS always feels a little slicker. And I should also point out too, I am going to more than likely glue this back panel on to kind of fill up all these gaps. The only reason I'm not gluing it on right now is I want to go through the entire set of instructions to make sure that there's no reason down the road that we need to pull this off for any reason. But once we're sure that it's there to stay, we will go ahead and glue all of this together and make a stronger joint than just the screws alone. And now we can also attach the back half of the lower part of the hull. And that has 4 little screws that need to be put into place. So it's good probably to have a pair of tweezers just to get them to line up there, and then you can just screw that right into place. And the only other thing we have to put on here is the tow hitch. That we'll put on later on though. And now that we have attached that lower portion of the back hull, the top will fit into place here. And the way the top goes in, there's a little lip right here that grabs the front of that, and then in the back there's 2 little screws that will bolt this all together, so you get a nice sturdy sturdy platform. And looking ahead, I think I will be able to actually glue these on now too. It doesn't look like it's going to interfere with anything, and I don't honestly plan on taking it apart as well. So I'll probably go ahead and glue those on, and then we can put the screws in, set it into place, and we have our almost our whole lower hull completed. Now I'm in the process of assembling the turret ring, and we've laid down the turret ring base and then put one of these in right here. This is the retainer, and going and installing each 20 total ball bearings around the outer ring here, 10 on the bottom and 10 on the top. Now after we get that portion done, we can go ahead and install this portion. This kind of just floats here, and followed again by another ring that we need to put all the ball bearings in, which I'll do that right now and show you the next step. Okay, now that we have almost all the ball bearings in, the next thing we're going to put in is the tooth part of the turret ring. And this is the whole area where you got to be kind of careful, get everything to kind of lock up, because you don't want the bearings coming out while you're working on this. And there we go. We've got it locked into place now. Now we can go ahead and put 6 of our screws in here. And with the last screw going in, tightening that down, that sandwiches everything together. And now we have a really smooth operating turret. So let's start attaching the next piece. Now I've mounted the lower part of the turret to this ring, and now I've just placed this very carefully into place here. Because there are these little holes, these 6 holes go all around, you have to drop a screw down there, and that screw is going to correspond to the screw holes down in here. And it takes a little bit of time to line them all up, but when you do, in fact I've got one screw in there right now that popped out, but I put one screw in there right now to help me line it up. And then we should be able to bolt that down, and then this, I'll show, once I get all these screws in, I'll show you how smoothly the thing spins. Now I finally got all those little screws in, and the first one is the most difficult, just getting it lined up. Once you get that in, they all just fall into place, and this is how smooth of a turret rotation you get. Very, very nice. Now the next step is we're going to go ahead and screw this plate in, and this plate is going to hold the gun in place. So we'll get that attached right now. Now we can start the barrel weight assembly, and this is a big brass ring that they put inside here. And snap those 2 pieces together, and we can just put the little screws inside. So I've kind of jumped a little bit ahead here. I've assembled most of this area. This was all pretty straightforward, so I didn't think it was necessary to go into depth on it. Now I've also started assembling the barrel as well, and we have a turned aluminum barrel with a few plastic parts that could get put on. Now initially in my preview video I called this a recuperator, and I knew better than that, and I messed up. This is a bore evacuator. Now that we have this portion, now I still have to do some sanding on that because it is a 2-half piece. But this is going to slide right into place on here, and then it's going to mount with a threaded screw. This part will get mounted into here. Maybe. Oh, there it goes. It wasn't lined up all the way. So now we have the majority of the gun mounted. There's also some brass rings that are put on in here, and now we can go ahead and mount it to the actual lower part of the turret. Now I'm going to get that ready and show you how that goes on. So I've installed the rubber O-rings on both sides of the brass fitting. Now we can go ahead and fit this portion on. They're fairly tight, but you want them to be that way. That way the barrel won't move around too much. Get those popped into place. And then what we'll do is we'll just pop it in here. It slides right over these pins. And once you get that into place, you can just bolt it down with a few screws, and then you'll have a nice elevation on this barrel, and it'll stay in whatever position you set it at. And just real fast too, I've got it all bolted down now, and you can see how smoothly the turret spins. You also have nice elevation on the barrel. And I'll kind of just dry fit this here right here to kind of show you how we're starting to look with this vehicle. It's coming together really, really well. The engineering is just absolutely spectacular on this kit, and now it's time to just do the last little parts on the turret. It's now time to attach the upper portion of the turret, and I've gone ahead and assembled these side pieces right here, and they have a little locking mechanism that'll hold the top and bottom together. So all it's a matter of doing is just getting this piece to line up. Got the lock on, that's why that's not coming down. Getting the lock open, lining them up, and then this little peg right here, you just lock that piece, swing this around, lock that piece, and it attaches the top and bottom. Now with that in place, now we can start attaching some of the other parts that we've glued up. We've got the rangefinder that we will attach up here. I've also made up the commander's cupola. Now, once again, have not installed the glass yet because we're going to paint those separately. This is all fully working. This will get mounted right into place here. We also have one of the blow-off panels in the back that gets popped into place right there. You have the CITV that gets mounted in there. And then finally, for up on top, we have the loader's hatch, which it too is workable when you glue down the bracket right here, and that'll make it work. And we'll go ahead and glue that down in a bit there. Now also, we also have these little panels, and these have a little turnbuckle on them there, that so you can get at the locking mechanism at any time. This will just pop right into place and kind of lock right down. So if you want to take the turret off, once again, remember this is designed to be an RC kit first and foremost. And those will just pop right into place right there. So we have a great portion of the upper part of the turret done. I've also gone ahead and started gluing together some of the smoke dischargers, which will glue on. But now it's time to start making the basket and the bushel rack that goes on the back. Now I'm just applying the last of the turret accessories here. You can see we've got the smoke dischargers going on, as well as we'll put this little stowage bin on the side. I've just dry fitted this into place. On the other side, I have attached all of that already, and it fits really well. This, I might also point out too, I left this off for now too because there's a glass insert that we need to paint separately. So we'll paint this, but not glue it into place until it's ready. So this is what the other side is going to look like with all the parts glued into place. So we'll glue these sides on, and then I've also glued this external part of the rear part of the turret. That's in place now too, so we can start working on the basket that goes in the back. Well, here is the completed model. As you can see, I attached the bustle rack as well as the APU unit and the crosswind sensor. Plus we installed the bases of the antennas, and it just temporarily fixed into place the machine guns that come on it. Also kind of show you a lower view of the vehicle. And as you can see, the suspension working, the tracks rolling is just a very, very nice piece. Overall, the kit had zero fit issues. Everything went together exactly the way it was. Now, there wasn't a lot of parts in the plastic area. It was mostly, you know, construction with the metal parts, and every bit of that lined up exactly the way you would expect it would. Now, I've gone ahead and I've painted all the clear parts the blue color that's required for it. So we'll pop those in later after we've done all the painting up here. Now, I also told you I did not install the cap over this as well, because now that we have the entire model assembled, we're going to have to go back and start, first of all, primering it. So I'll take this the whole thing apart. We're going to take all the rubber off the road wheels, as well as all the tracks. We're going to primer it all with metal primer. And then that way we can get a nice base coat. So as we put the dark yellow, or desert yellow, I should say, over the entire vehicle, it'll be ready to go. The guns are all still available to come off. They're just fitted into place here. So we can paint those up separately as well. And I told you some of these other parts too we've left off. And then as for getting the glass inside here, don't forget we have the 2 locking mechanisms here that we can take off, pop it off, and still work at all underneath the turret. So we should be able to put all the blue in right after we get all the other parts done. So let's start painting. Now I've decided, because the vehicle is so large, that rather than painting the entire thing in NATO black like I normally would, I'm just going to do the outline of the entire vehicle. Panel lines, any type of recesses, anywhere that we look like the paint should have a little bit of a different tone to it. Now after we're done painting the entire thing, or all the panels I should say black, we're going to go over the center of all the panels with our white like we normally would, and we should come out with a similar type of effect that we normally do on some of the smaller scales. Okay, I've completed the shadow and highlight coat, and I think for our purposes, because it's so large, it's going to work out pretty good not painting the entire thing all solid black first. Now I'm going to mix up a batch of 50/50 of XF59 desert yellow and XF57 buff, and it's going to create more of a faded down desert yellow that we're going to use on this vehicle. Because don't forget, after you do put a spray of dull coat on that, it darkens the paint ever so slightly too. So I've mixed up a really large bottle of this because this is such a large vehicle to paint. Now I just temporarily placed the top on the bottom. When it comes time to painting all the lower road wheels, it is much easier to do it in 2 halves, but we're just holding it in place right here for now. So we're going to start the top painting it the dark desert yellow color. So I think we got a nice effect with the fading, with the dark and light. I think it worked out pretty good. You can still see some shadowing effect in some areas that look a little worn, and we haven't done any type of weathering at all on it. Now I just went and shot the entire model with a flat lacquer to seal in all of our paint job, and now we can go ahead and start putting the decals on. Okay, I've got all of the decals installed. And there wasn't a heck of a lot of them. I only used the ones for the barrel as well as these identification plates. Didn't put the big F2 on the side. Wasn't too crazy about the way that looked. I've also installed all of the blue glass. This will be the last piece I have to pop in. And hopefully you can see all of the blue glass in the commander's cupola as well as in the rangefinder. And we smoked the glass inside here, and blue glass once again inside of the loader's hatch. Started painting up the machine guns, and a couple little tips too. I've reinstalled the tracks and the rubber on the road wheels. Getting all of that rubber off on the inside road wheels was a little bit of a difficulty, and a little difficulty getting back on. So it probably in the future would be easier to unassemble these and not actually have the entire wheel come right off the vehicle. So it'd be easier to pop the rubber in from both sides. But minor thing, it only took me a couple extra minutes. It was just I didn't want to stretch any of them out. Now I'm only going to do a little bit of light weathering on this vehicle. First step I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of Tamiya's brown panel liner and just going around and highlighting some of these nuts and bolts over the whole vehicle. This will give it a little definition to all this nice work that they've put into this. And then after we put that on there, I like to take a brush, just a touch of paint thinner on it, and kind of blend the top of the panel liner in. So the top of the nut gets cleaned off a little bit, but we still get the dirt remaining in all the recesses. So you can see these have been done right here, and we still have a little bit of dirt and grime built up inside of that. Looks pretty good once you get it all done. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, after I finish that up, we're going to take a little bit of enamel thinner and just brush this area down with it, just lightly, and we're just going to do a little bit of streaking grime on this thing like I was telling you earlier. So after we get that surface wet, just a couple little dots and lines, and then once you get that on there, taking that same soft brush again, I'm just going to put a few of these little streaks in here. I was telling you earlier, I don't want to do it super bad, so we're going to blend this for a little while, get it just so there's just a little bit of dirt and grime on it. So basically that's what I'm going to do between the brown panel liner and the streaking grime. That's pretty much what's going to go over the entire vehicle for now. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that, and this is obviously going to take a little bit of time, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like once it's done. And the last little thing I'm going to do is we're just taking little foam, we're putting just a few little scratches and chips along some of the edges. Not too heavy, just enough to look at like it's got a little wear and tear on it. So here we are. Here is our completed model. Now, as I was saying earlier, I didn't go too super heavy on the weathering. Didn't want to make it too beat up. The only other thing I did after I did the chipping and the weathering effect on it is I did spray the entire model with XF57 buff, and that kind of blends everything together, kind of tones down some of the shininess from putting on some of the panel liner, things like that. Now, as you can imagine, the kit was absolutely wonderful to put together. Every little bit of fit and finish was all perfect, just what you'd expect from Tamiya quality. And the ability to have the torsion bar suspension and the movement, not to mention that the turret moves so fluidly with the ball bearings inside, is just incredible. So I want to thank you as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have more videos coming.